All right, so good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to JPCE Spiritual Talk. It's Jared Campbell. So this evening, I'm going to give an update what's going on internationally. Our main focus is going to be on the conflict in Ukraine, with Ukraine and Russia. We're going to mainly focus on how Ukrainians are pounding the Kirks region of Russia with NATO weapons. How much closer are we getting to World War III? Probably getting closer. We're going to talk about some other things today as well. I haven't done one of these updates in a while. I've been focusing research on the NED, which I'm going to put that on the back burner, considering I'm fixing to start back my theological studies at Bushnell University next week. So here is an update, right? So we're going to jump right into this. Today's episode is brought to us by our Father in Heaven. So without further ado, I'm going to share the screen over. We're going to get right into some key points and get out of here. We're going to watch some videos. A lot of them are going to be muted because of music and some of the sound, so I don't get hit up on some other platforms like YouTube, mainly YouTube and Facebook. Not much on Rumble, but all right. So the screen is sharing over. So we're going to first talking about how the Ukrainians are pounding the Kirks region in Russia. Be our first thing to talk about. So here on your screen is an article from War News 24/7. It's a Greek source, international. All right, I use this as a visual. A lot of them do have videos in them as well. That's why I like using them. So up on the screen, it says Ukrainians are pounding Kirks. So the Kirks region of Russia with NATO weapons, right? So a close partner to Putin says the West wants a world war. Kiev destroyed the 3 Shim River bridges. So here's kind of a rundown. So the Ukrainian military's actions. So Ukrainian forces have used NATO weapons and missiles to target Russian military infrastructure in the Kirks region of Russia, explicitly focusing on floating passages and bridges over the Shim River. Damage to bridges. Three bridges over the Shim River in the Russia's Kirks region have been destroyed by Ukrainian forces, impacting Russia's logistical capabilities. So it's affecting their logistics. Western involvement. Ukraine's use of Western-made missiles, including U.S.-supplied HIMARS, have escalated the tensions, with the Russian officials warning for a potential for broader conflicts. Getting interesting. Russian response. A close associate of President Putin warned that continued Western support for Ukraine could provoke a global conflict. Here's the impact. Destruction of bridges have reportedly resulted in civilian casualties, including volunteers helping to evacuate residents. So let's look at some of these videos. I guess I'm going to mute a few of them. We're only going to watch, I think, one. So Ukrainian Air Force continues to destroy bridges, Kirks. So we're going to mute this. All right. So as we move along, all right. So next, Britain. All right, there I am. So Britain is waiting for a green light from the U.S. to use Storm Shadow inside Russian territory. Disclosure from the Times. So there's been a request for approval. Okay, the UK has requested permission from the United States to allow Ukraine to use British-made Storm Shadow missiles inside Russian territory. I've talked about this in some of my previous videos. This could lead to something bigger. Delayed response. The request made a month ago, right, is still pending approval from the U.S., with sources indicating it is stuck in the system as part of routine U.S. procedural checks. International involvement. The decision to use Storm Shadow missiles may require agreement between multiple countries, including the UK and potentially France, as the UK and France jointly develop the rocket. Western hesitation. Despite Ukraine's invasion of the Kirks region in Russia, Western countries, including the UK, have so far refrained from approving the use of long-range missiles like Storm Shadow within Russian territory. Lastly, next point, strategic impact. Ukraine believes that being able to strike deep inside Russian territory would improve its defensive position and better protect itself from Russian threats. Beautiful. Beautiful. With no videos in that one, let's move along. Thank you all again for following. You know, keeping up with these updates is very, very important. A lot of these updates go ignored. Right? So here we go. Zelensky glorifies Ukrainian-made weapon systems that clean the Black Sea. There's a video on this one. With these weapons, we beat the Russians. So Zelensky's praise for Ukrainian weapons. Ukrainian President Zelensky publicly praised Ukraine-made weapon systems that have been effective in operations in the Black Sea. Weapon systems highlighted. Zelensky mentioned several Pacific weapons, including Sea Baby and Makrar V5 surface drones and other self-propelled guns. Anti-tank guns and aerial drones also have been used. Impact on Russian forces. Zelensky emphasized that these weapons have significantly weakened Russian capabilities, citing successful attacks on the Kirks Bridge in Crimea, Russian fuel depots, and ships of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, including the sinking of the Moskva flagship of the Russian fleet. Symbolic language. Zelensky framed these military successes as part of Ukraine's effort to clean the Black Sea and strengthen the nation's defense. Public messaging. Zelensky's video shared on social media boosts Ukrainian morale and demonstrates Ukraine's military capabilities to the international community. Beautiful. This one I'm going to have to also mute. It does have subtitles, but because of the music, we're going to mute it. So Nordic Monitor, the new commander of the Turkish Aegean army, signals trouble for Greece. So Turkey is planning something against Greece. Now, this is something I have talked about before in other videos I've done on YouTube and Rumble. This is getting interesting too, because both these countries are NATO members, right? So an appointment of General Ozert has been appointed the commander of Turkey's Aegean army, a force established to counter Greece. Here is the background of the general. He has a history of conducting covert operations abroad, like in places like Libya, and has been involved in intelligence gathering activities supporting President Erdogan's government. Hostile stance toward the U.S. The general has shown hostility towards NATO and the U.S., having coordinated surveillance of NATO troops and American officers in Turkey. Potential escalation with Greece. His appointment could indicate Erdogan's plan to escalate tensions with Greece, possibly through covert operations. The Aegean armies closely monitors U.S. troops deployments in Greece, which Turkey perceives as a threat, despite U.S. assurances that these deployments are aimed at Russia. Concerns raised. The Nordic Monitor suggests that Ozurt's appointment may signal trouble for Greece, warranting close monitoring of the situation to assure regional stability. It's getting interesting there. Definitely keep our eye on that one. Good to mention, good information. Now we're going to talk about Medvedev, Dmitry Medvedev. This guy's interesting. Talked about him several times on a lot of my channels. So what it says on the screen, poor bastard. This will be the continuation after Kirks, according to Medvedev. End of negotiations until the final defeat of Kiev. So Dmitry Medvedev's statement. Dmitry Medvedev, the vice president of Russian Security Council, he was also the former president of Russia, made a strong statement on Telegram regarding the situation after the Kirks incident. Ukraine has invaded Russia, right? Rejection of peace negotiations. Medvedev emphasized that there will be no more peace negotiations until Ukraine is defeated, citing the recent Kirks incident as a turning point. Criticism of international mediators. Medvedev dismissed the idea of early peace negotiations proposed by international mediators as a potential trap for Russia. Harsh rhetoric. Medvedev has used really bad language to criticize the leaders of Western countries, blaming them for exacerbating the conflict and implying that they bear responsibility for Ukraine's suffering. Interesting, right? Interesting there. So forecast for Ukraine. Medvedev's predicted increased military losses and further hardship for Ukraine due to the continued conflict. Basically, Medvedev says Russia is going to punish Ukraine, right? That's what he says. Ukraine's going to be punished, right, for what they've done. As we move along, we're going to talk about Belarus and Lukashenko now. All right. Quick updates here. So the tension in the red. Lukashenko sent 1/3 of the army to the border with Ukraine. This is going to help Russia, okay? This will really help Russia. They get 120,000, right? So 120,000 Ukrainian soldiers on the border with Belarus. Belarus sends 1/3 of the army. It's going to help Russia in that region, okay? So troop deployments. The Belarusian president, Alexander Lukashenko, announced that Belarus has deployed nearly 1/3 of its armed forces along the border with Ukraine in response to Ukraine standing over 120,000 troops on the border with Belarus. Military numbers. The Belarusian army consists of approximately 48,000 soldiers with additional 12,000 troops stationed on state borders, according to the 2022 Military Balance Report by the International Institute of Strategic Studies, the IISS. Okay. Defensive preparations. Lukashenko has emphasized that the Belarusian military's deployment along the border is defensive, anticipating potential conflicts with Ukraine. Tense relations. The Belarusian Defense Minister, Viktor Cherin, mentioned a high possibility of an armed provocation from Ukraine, indicating that the situation on the border remains very tense. Border conditions. Lukashenko claimed that the Belarus-Ukraine border is heavily mined and warned that Ukrainian troops would face significant casualties if they attempted to cross it. Now, I have heard reports that those mines have been pulled back, right? This is what I've heard. Now, they're saying that they're mined. I've heard sources that those mines have been pulled back like months ago, okay? Ukrainian response. Kiev has yet to respond to these claims, but previously reported no signs of Belarusian troops gathering at the border, okay? Here are some pictures. Units of the Belarusian army continue to be deployed to the Ukrainian border. Remember, it's just a military exercise. So there's pictures of them going. All right. All right. Moving along. All right, so here we go. So Russia captures new settlement, right? Overnight drone and missiles attacks. Russians advance to Pokros. So Russian drone and missile attacks. Russia launched 69 attacks overnight against Ukraine. Ukrainian forces have managed to repel 50 of these drones, okay? With an additional 16 drones were possibly taken down using electronic warfare systems. The attack also included 2 ballistic missiles and 1 cruise missile, with the cruise missile being intercepted. Drone excursions. During the attack, 1 drone entered Ukraine from Belarus and another drone returned to Russia. Russian forces captured villages. Let's look at a map. So here's the areas in which they've been captured, right? So Russian forces captured those villages, right? And in that region, in Eastern Ukraine, according to the announcement by the Russian Ministry of Defense. So according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. Casualties in Russia. In separate incident, 1 person was killed and 2 were injured in Russia's Kirks region when Ukrainian drone dropped an explosive device on their car. The acting regional governor shared the information on Telegram. Okay. All right. So German warships to pass through the Taiwan Strait for the first time in 20 years. China is now angry. NATO forces around Taiwan. So German warships passage. So 2 German warships are considering passing through the Taiwan Strait for the first time in 20 years. The decision is pending and will depend on Berlin's orders and weather conditions. China's reaction. China has expressed strong opposition, asserting its claims over asserting its claims over Taiwan and the Taiwan Strait. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs criticized the potential passage, framing it as an interference in China's sovereignty under the guise of freedom of navigation. The German Navy aims to demonstrate support for its allies' commitment to a rules-based international order, peaceful conflict resolution, and secure shipping lanes. The German warships. So German warships are scheduled to visit Tokyo, South Korea, and the Philippines, and participate in joint exercises with several countries, including France, Indonesia, and also the U.S. The German naval commander expects the Chinese Navy or Coast Guard to closely monitor or accompany the ships during potential passage through the Taiwan Strait. All right, beautiful. Let's move on. All right. Now we're going to talk about a Russian investigation going on. We're almost done. So here we go. Italian reporters who entered Kirks illegally left one by one. The FSB is hunting them. They denounced the Italian reporters for pro-Ukrainian propaganda in Russian territory. So an FSB investigation. Russia's FSB has initiated a criminal investigation against 2 Italian journalists from RAI for illegally entering the Kirks region. Allegations of propaganda. The FSB also accuses the journalists of pro-Ukrainian propaganda while on Russian soil. The Italian Foreign Ministry has protested the issue to Russia, defending the journalists' independence. The RAI announced that the one, excuse me. So a temporary return. It has been announced that the 2 will be returning to Italy temporarily for security reasons. Okay. Public and media backlash. Russian media and public opinion have been highly critical, accusing the Italian reporters of complicity in war crimes and censoring Ukrainian atrocities. All right. We're just going to watch this video right here.
Questa è la strada principale che entra nella regione russa di Kursk. Qui passano tutte le colonne militari ed è dunque un obiettivo dei bombardamenti russi. Ieri un veicolo è stato colpito e 2 soldati ucraini sono morti.
So those were the reporters, right, that had gotten in trouble. All right. I don't know if this one has music or not.
Maxim Krivtsov, 33 anni, poeta, combattente, composti 2 giorni prima di morire.
Сумували щосил, не стихали дощі.
I giovani di Kiev affollano la chiesa di San Michele per salutarlo. Maxim era uno di loro.
Він любив дивитись, як падає сніг та в тумані зникає.
È morto con il suo gatto, rosso come i campi secchi falciati d'agosto, così lo aveva descritto, sempre insieme, coricati in trincea nelle notti ghiacciate. Quel rifugio, bombardato dai russi, gli è crollato in testa.
Господи, помилуй, спаси, наскрезь.
Da laggiù aveva lanciato via social la sua ultima raccolta, acclamata dai critici. Nato a Rivne, nell'ovest, dove in piazza svetta la statua di Taras Shevchenko, poeta nazionale. Ai suoi piedi le foto di centinaia di caduti. Guerra e poesia, come un destino.
Maxim veniva da una casa qualunque in una città qualunque dell'Ucraina. Come lui, decine di migliaia di altri giovani. Ai piedi del suo palazzo una targa ricorda un suo coetaneo morto nel 2014 combattendo contro le milizie filorusse.
Lungo i 1000 chilometri di fronte viene cancellata a poco la migliore generazione dell'Ucraina, quella di Maidan, la rivoluzione antirussa e pro-Europa, qui chiamata della dignità. Maxim vi aveva aderito sin da subito.
All right. All right. So go right here. Move right along. All right, so Ukraine, mandatory evacuation in those areas we were talking about earlier begins as Russian army advances. You have 2 weeks to spare. So mandatory evacuations, Ukraine. Ukraine has ordered the mandatory evacuation of families and children from Pokrov. This right here, it's Buman right there, the name of it. And its surroundings due to the advancing Russian forces. Due to the proximity of the front lines, the evacuation, which affects 53,000 people, including 4,000 children, is to be completed within 1 to 2 weeks. This area right here, it's a crucial supply route for Ukrainian troops on the Eastern Front. It has been a significant target for Russian forces. In response to the conflict, more than 121,000 people have been evacuated from 9 border regions in Russia's Kirks region. Russian forces are engaged in fighting Ukrainian troops who have entered Russia's western border, leading to heightened tensions and military activity. Right? All right, so we're almost done. So I hope you all enjoyed these updates. I do apologize for some of the hiccups. Right? I'm getting a little tired. And I have a hard time pronouncing some of these cities. I do the best I can. But so here's our last article for tonight, right? Last little bit of some research and these key points. So you see on the screen, New York Times, Biden endorses secret nuclear deterrence plan focused on China. Preparations for Taiwan. Listen attentively, right? Things are heating up. So a new strategy approved. So President Joe Biden has approved a secret nuclear deterrence plan focusing on China, making a shift in the U.S. nuclear strategy. Revised focus. The new plan addresses and counters China's expanding nuclear capabilities. Declassification expected. A declassified strategy is anticipated to be presented to Congress before Biden's term ends. Interesting. Strategy review. This update, which occurs every 4 years, reflects a strategic shift in the U.S. defense policy, although the White House has not officially commented on it yet. And that's where we'll end. So before I close out, look at the time real quick. Not too bad on time. I'm going to go over to Facebook. And if anyone wants to follow me, I created a group on Facebook, okay, where I do keep up with a lot of things that are going on. So here's the name of the group. The name of the group is called Watchdog, Ukraine, Russia, War, NATO, EU updates, etc. Also follow things that are going on in Israel as well. So I've been posting updates of what's going on. So if you want to join that group, it is an open group. It's a public group for now. Hopefully that never has to change, but it is public as of right now. It's not a private group. I hope I don't have to make it private. Hope I can keep it public so I can share the information. If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can find me on that group. It's called the Watchdog, Ukraine, Russia, War, NATO, EU, updates, etc. All right. My name is Jared Campbell. Right. You can also follow me on Facebook as well. Right there, my name. If you want to follow me. On my personal page, I post a lot of Bible studies. Right. I'm a theology major. So without further ado, I'm going to close out. So thank you all again for following. Stop the share. All right. So I hope you enjoyed these updates. I apologize for some of the hiccups. Right. Hope you enjoyed this video, these updates. I'm going to keep bringing them. I'm taking a break on the NED for now because school is about to start. So I'll just continue with some quick updates here and there. If you really want even quicker updates, you can join me there on Facebook in that group Watchdog. Right. Without further ado, thank you all again for following. It means a lot. I love you all so much. This is JPCE Spiritual Talk. Never, ever hold back. I see truth. So Friday, usually Ricky and I chat about Ukraine. Ricky, he lives in Ukraine and gives me updates. So that's usually every Friday. Hopefully tomorrow, Ricky and I will chat. Don't know that yet, but definitely talk to him before then. Thank you all again for following. Love you all so much. I am out this evening.